Today we're going to be talking about interactions. These are ways that we can make our websites more interactive. So you need to open up the notes, follow along, and then we'll do the web lab after the notes. So first of all, let's take a look at these selectors that we already know. So we have tags, classes, so dot pumpkin. So pumpkin is just a word I chose, and I know it's a class because it's dot. When we use a star, we select everything. If we want to select multiple tags, we can do that by separating with a comma. And then we can use tags that are inside of tags by using a space. So these are all the li tags that are inside of a div. And this is one that we're going to be using a lot today, tags that are in a specific class. So these are the H1s that are classed pumpkin. All my other H1s will not change. All my other pumpkin class will not change. These are just H1s that are classed pumpkin. And what we're going to do today is we're going to add to it, and we're going to add pseudo classes to our selectors. A pseudo class is a keyword that's added to the selector that allows it to be selected only at certain times. So not all the time, it's just certain times. And we're only going to talk about two today, and they are the hover and the active. The hover allows the selector to be selected when the mouse is over the element, and then active is when the mouse is clicked on an element. Now, please note this is tricky, but you need to remember this. If you're going to use both active and hover, hover has to come first, active has to come second. If you flip-flop those two, if you use the same selector and then the same pseudo, or then these two different pseudo classes, if you flip-flop these, they won't work. Hover has to come first, active has to come second. Another thing that you need to know that is new is this transition property. Transition property, it slows down our animation so it doesn't just jump, and it's measured in seconds. So the property is transition, and then the value is measured in seconds or S's. So this is 1 S to be 1 second. So let's look at it in the web lab. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. So first, let's look at the code, the HTML code, and then we'll make some changes in the CSS. So we're not going to do anything to the HTML code, but I did want to point out a couple things. Each section here is separated into a div, and each div is its own class. So this one, so you can see this class is Office, this class is Park, this class is NBA. And then I also went through and classed each image. So each image is in that class as well. And when we look at it in the CSS, you can see the only thing I've done with the classes is change the colors. So I got all these classes made, but all I've really done is change the background of the div. I did use these two selectors here. I'd use an image tag as a selector for this rule set just to set the picture height and get that space between. And the same thing with this div. I just have the space between the divs set at 15. And because this is just the div, this selects all the div tags. So all of these are the same. And what we're going to do first is I want my user to be able to see where they are on the page using their mouse. So I'm going to use the div tag with the hover pseudo class. And notice that this is different than this. This is just all the divs all the time. This is going to change the div when my mouse is hovered on over it. So I'm going to go div : hover. I'm going to put a border. Border, solid, and oops. And we're going to make it real small. Div. width. Just 2 pixels. And then when I put my mouse over a div, you can see I got a border. And I want to do something similar to the office. I want, when my mouse has hovered over these pictures, I want them just to get a little bit bigger. Okay, so I only want to select the pictures in the office. Now, each of these are classed as office, so I can say image, img, dot office. So it's only selecting these ones. And I don't want it all the time. I only want it when I hover. What do I want to do? I want to make these a little bit bigger, so I'm going to change the height to, we'll say 120 pixels. And you can see when I move my mouse over each picture, it gets a little bit bigger. Now, one thing I can do is, instead of having these bounce up and down like this, is I can add my transition. And transition is measured in seconds, so we're going to do half a second here. So now when I put my mouse over, you can see it gets bigger. Now for this next section, for the Parks and Rec section, I'm going to use a filter. And what I want it to do is I want it to go from black and white to color. So what I have to do first is I have to tell it to turn black and white, and then I can use my hover pseudo class to make it go back to color. So first I have to style these pictures with my filter, grayscale, and it turned these pictures black and white. So what I want to do now is I want it to tell it to turn it back to color when I hover. So I'm going to go image.park, :hover, filter, grayscale, but now I'm going to do 0%. Don't forget semicolons. So now when I put my mouse over it, they go from black and white to color. And I can also, I'm going to use my other pseudo class as well. I'm going to use my active, image.park: active. And now I'm going to say, I'm going to change my size. So height, height, we'll make it a little bit bigger, 150 px. So I got 3 different things happening here. So this first one is what sets it at grayscale, 100%. This next one is going to turn the grayscale off when I hover over it. And then this is going to make it nice and big when I click on it. So gray, not gray, big. Let's go ahead and add a transition to that too. Transition 0.5s. There we go. So black and white, color, big. Black and white, color, big. Now another one I like to use, we'll do it with our NBA players here, is I like to use the blur filter. So I'm going to go image.nba. First, let's set them blurry. And filter, blur. Remember, blur is measured in pixels, so we're going 5px. Nice and blurry there. And then, so now what I'm going to do is set it so that when I hover, they become not blurry. So filter, blur, 0 pixels. I like to use this one because it keeps the color on my page. But it really allows the user to focus on just one picture at a time. Now, for our SpongeBob div, what I want to do is I want to hide this text, the SpongeBob song, until I click on the div and then it opens up. So for this one, we're not changing the image, we're changing the div. So I'm going to say div.sponge, and we're going to change the height to, I think it was 220. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, there we go. So you can see my div is now just the size of the pictures, but look what happened to my song. It spilled out into the div underneath it, right? So I have to use another new property, and that's called the overflow. So we're going to say overflow hidden. So now my text is there, but we can't see it. So now when we hover, so we have to, again, we're on the div.sponge. Oops, got my pseudo class. Hover. Now I'm going to change the height to, we'll go 350 pixels. And we want to transition there. Transition, and we'll do 1 second transition here. That when we don't want to do hover, let's do active. Sorry. So that when I click here, it slides down and shows us the words to the song. Let's do the same thing with Pokemon, except we'll use the hover one for Pokemon. So we'll say div.poke, hover. Oh, first we got to set it. Div.poke. Actually, do the same thing here. I'll just copy this. And paste. There we go. So there we go. You can see my text is hidden. And same thing here. We'll go div. So for this one, we're going to go div.poke. And, oh, did it again. Class. Nope. Hover. Here we go. And for this one, we're going to change again the height to 350 and have a 1 second. So this time it is a hover instead of a click. So hover, click, hover, click. Let's do something. Let's do one more. Let's do the Minecraft. For the Minecraft one, so we're going to say div.mine. And for this one, I'm going to make it real small. We'll go 35 pixels. And again, We don't want our pictures falling down here, so we're going to go Overflow Hidden. Oh, let's make that bigger. Let's go 40. Let's go 50. There we go. 55. There we go. I want to see the word Minecraft, but I want everything else hidden. So I made it real small so I can see the word Minecraft. And now I want it to open up when I mouse over it. So div.mine:hover. And height 200 pixels. And transition 1 second. So there we go. Let's go a little bit bigger. Let's go 230. There we go. So what you could do is use a div like this, make it real small, and have a whole bunch of them on the page. And then when someone mouses over it, it opens up and gives more information about that thing. So if you made a page about video games, you could have one for Minecraft. Somebody mouses over it, it opens up, and you can see more information about Minecraft. Same thing here with Pokemon. You could have a picture here. Someone mouses over it, and then gives more information about that thing. Hey, let's jump back to Pokemon real quick. Let's do something fun with these pictures. Let's make it so that they are dark, or they're black, and then as you mouse over it and click it, it becomes more and more visible. So we can play Who's That Pokemon. So first we have to make them small and dark. So these are pictures, so we're going to go Image, and they are in the Pokemon class. And we're going to go we're going to filter brightness. Filter brightness 0%. And let's make sure that worked. Yep, nice and dark there. And then we're going to go size, so we're going to choose the height, and we'll do real small, 50 pixels. Yeah, it's nice and small. All right, so one thing I can do to save me some time is because I'm going to be making 3 of these, so I'm going to have one for the original, small and black, one for the hover, and then one for the active. I'm just going to copy this. Copy and paste. And so this first one, we have to add our pseudo class, hover. And let's raise that brightness to, let's say, 40%. Change the height to, let's say, 70 pixels. So that when I hover, it gets a little bit bigger. And let's add a transition here. Let's make it a real fast transition. 0.25 seconds. Real fast. I mouse over it. You can kind of see it. And then let's copy this one and paste it. But this time, let's do active. And so now we want the brightness to be 100% and the height to be 100 pixels. So you can play Who's That Pokemon? So it goes from black to dark to bright. All right, let's do something to food here. We're going to use the whole div. So div.food. And we're going to put a filter on the whole thing. We'll use the grayscale filter. So you can see you can add a filter to a whole div, and it'll make the whole div grayed out. And now I can use my hover, div.food:hover. I can use my hover pseudo class to take that filter off. We'll go 0%. If you have something on your page that you don't want people to focus on until they're ready, until they mouse over it, you can do that. Kind of make them think, oh, what's going on here? Put my mouse on it, and it lights up. So that is, let's take a look at this. So that is interactions using a pseudo class. So you can see as I move my mouse around, click on things, stuff happens. It makes our websites more interactive so people can click around, see what's going on our page.